Frustrations among Michigan's restaurants are boiling over now that capacity restrictions will stick around at least another month.
A group of restaurant owners in Macomb County are now suing the state. They want the state to pay them damages for all the business they have lost during the pandemic.
To see our life's work, and in my case, 44 years, pretty much starting to go up in smoke.
It begs the question, are Ohio's restaurants weathering the pandemic any better? What about Indiana? 7 Action News reporter Jennifer Ann Wilson is comparing the restrictions and the economic fallout.
There is no question Michigan restaurants are hurting, but comparing what's happening here to our neighboring states is more like comparing kale to tangerines than it is apples to apples. Each state has a completely different method of arriving at the data that they're releasing. Each state has had different COVID positivity and even COVID death rates at different times. Each state has multiple different programs they've put in place to help restaurants. But the one thing that does remain the same, no matter where you go, the restaurant industry is hurting. Michigan restaurants have been closed for indoor dining more days of this pandemic than our neighboring states. The capacity restrictions have been tougher, and for local businesses, it's been devastating.
We don't just lose our business, we lose our homes. We lose our cars. We lose our souls.
But surprisingly, the industry doesn't seem to be doing much better in our neighboring states. Michigan has 17,000 licensed restaurants. Ohio has 23,000. An estimated 3,000 restaurants have permanently closed in Michigan. An estimated 4,000 have closed in Ohio, so the percentage is about the same and only slightly higher than the National Restaurant Association average of 17%. The Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association President Justin Winslow does point to another neighbor who could be taking Michigan's events.
Indiana is one of 2 states that has grown their hospitality industry over the pandemic, specifically because they border both Michigan and Illinois, which have had prolonged closures and very strict occupancy.
One man even paid for billboards labeling Governor Whitmer as Indiana's Business Person of the Year. But the data I found doesn't exactly support that. In fact, the Indiana Restaurant and Lodging Association estimated 20% of Indiana restaurants have closed since the start of the pandemic, and that's more percentage-wise than Michigan or Ohio. And 2/3 of Indiana's hotels are facing bankruptcy, a number very similar to the estimate in Michigan. Like everything else during the course of this pandemic, those numbers can change, and they might change quickly. The state of Indiana is hoping that by having all 60-plus March Madness games within their state, the hospitality industry will bounce back. Meanwhile, Michigan restaurants are looking towards even more weeks of operating at just 25% capacity. I'm Jennifer Ann Wilson, 7 Action News.
Jennifer Ann, thank you for the report. And we